Welcome to Ask an Expert, where a technical product expert answers questions from our customers. Hello, this is John Appleson, Marketing Manager with Pepperl+Fuchs. Today I'm joined by Tracy Molnar. Tracy works as an application engineer here at Pepperl+Fuchs. So welcome, Tracy, and thanks for being here.
Hi, John. Thanks for asking.
This first question asks about a direct replacement for the CP18 D4 DPLC since it is no longer available. The customer states that he's having issues using the recommended replacement model GLV18-8-450/73/120. He further explains that the CP18 had a one-output light-on operation and the replacement is a two-output light-on dark-on, which causes issues when trying to connect to the OSI interface module VBA-4E-G2-ZA. Tracy, what solution can we offer this customer?
Well, the customer in this situation needed to replace an obsolete sensor, but when he installed the recommended replacement, there was an unexpected and undesirable result. So he figured he'd been given the wrong model. But we were able to solve the problem by changing the cord set, and here's why. The OSI module the customer has can accept up to 4 inputs from 2 or 3 wire devices, such as the CP18 sensor he'd been using. But according to the wiring diagram for the module, it can also accept up to 2 4-wire sensors by distributing a sensor's dual output signals to 2 of the module's inputs. Since the GLV series replacement is a 4-wire dual output device and the customer was using a 4-conductor cord set to connect it to the module, 2 of the module's inputs were being used instead of only 1, and that didn't work for this customer. So I suggested he switch to a 3-conductor cord set that would transmit only the output he wanted from the sensor to the OSI module, and that fixed the issue.
This next customer would like to know if we have mean time to failure data for the NMB 1.5-8GM35-EO-FE inductive sensor.
Well, typically MTTF values can be found on our product data sheets, so that's the first place I have customers look for this information. If it's there, it'll be in a section of the technical data titled Functional Safety Related Parameters. As we've mentioned in other podcasts, the unit of measure for this value, a lowercase a, stands for years. But if this section isn't included in the datasheet, we can still help the customer find the required value. Sometimes it will be in our internal documentation, and other times the calculation hasn't been done before and we need to request it from QC. That's what happened in this customer's case, but most of the time it's not necessary.
Tracy, this customer would like to know if we have a diffuse mode sensor that is able to detect metal drum at a range of 3 to 4 feet. The sensor needs to be approved for a Class 1 Division 2 hazardous location, and its output should be 120 volts AC.
Well, most of our hazardous area rated sensors are inductive, which means metal is a good target, but it must be very close to the sensor in order to be detected. And by very close, I mean an inch or 2 at the most for our largest, longest range inductive models. If the drum is 3 to 4 feet away from the sensor, the customer will need to go with a photoelectric or ultrasonic sensor. And there's only a few of those that are hazardous area rated. In fact, I can think of only one sensor and barrier combination that can operate at 120 volts AC. The model is OCS 2000-M1K-N2, and it's retroreflective, so we'll need to mount a reflector behind where the drum will be when it's to be detected, so that it will break the beam between the sensor and the reflector. The reflector can be up to 2 meters from the sensor, which is about 6 feet. The sensor has no more output, which is intrinsically safe and rated for up to Class 1 Div 1 locations when used with a barrier that must be mounted in a non-hazardous area. We offer barriers for 120 volt AC operation, which provides power to the sensor and a relay contact output for the customer's control circuit.
In this next application, the customer has an ICZ AIDA1 MSTB connector and would like to know which 24-volt power supply to use to power the IC-KP-B17-AIDA1 control interface unit.
The ICKP model is a control interface for RFID systems, and the ICZ AIDA1 part is the connector for the power supply to the control unit. In order to determine the proper power supply, the customer should look at the electrical specifications of the control unit that are listed on its datasheet. This section lists a rated operating voltage for the unit of between 20 and 30 volts DC, so a standard 24-volt DC power supply would be appropriate. Also listed in the datasheet is the power consumption to operate the control unit itself without read-write heads connected, and the maximum current consumption possible that includes the read-write heads being operated by the control unit. This information, along with similar data he can find on the datasheet for the read-write heads he is connecting to the ICKP control unit, will help him select a power supply with the correct current rating.
This customer is asking where he can download wiring guidelines and diagrams for his AS interface system.
From the download section of the Pepperl+Fuchs website, if this customer narrows his selection down to AS interface documents in the English language, there are only 10 results. Of those, I think the maintenance and troubleshooting guide and the reference and buyer's guide are the most useful in terms of wiring. We also have a separate website called AS Interface Solutions that includes links to both of the documents I just mentioned, plus how-to videos and examples to answer many of the most common customer questions and issues. Last but certainly not least, this customer can find connection diagrams for individual AS interface system components on the datasheet for each item, and this documentation can also be downloaded from the Pepperl+Fuchs website.
Well, that concludes this segment of Ask an Expert. I want to thank Tracy for joining me today and thank our audience as well. For additional information, here are 5 easy ways to connect with us.